The mission of Metropolitan Community College includes a number of objectives. One of the most important is to meet the needs of our workforce partners, providing educated students in disciplines that are relevant. Today on MCCTV, we're going to chat at length about a program called Dream It, Do It. Dream It, Do It is a statewide initiative that addresses the skills gap in manufacturing and related careers. There are tremendous opportunities in today's manufacturing sectors, and our discussion ahead will shed light about what those include and will put some of the old myths to rest. Hopefully, we'll open your eyes to what manufacturing is all about today and tomorrow in terms of potential careers. I'm your host, Kent Pavelka, and all that's ahead next on MCC TV. The Dream It, Do It initiative, which MCC is part of, is all about highlighting education paths for young people to pursue successful manufacturing careers. And the manufacturing industries in our area are all in. Here to talk about it, we've got a whole group of folks here. Brian Turner, who is with Balin Manufacturing, representing Dream It, Do It. Ralph Kleinsmith with Lozier Corporation. Ben Gano with the NMC Company. And Sarah Hansen with Turner Construction. Did I get it all right? Or I hope I did.
Great.
Okay. We've got an opportunity to chat at length about Dream It, Do It. And I know one of the things we want to focus on is how your specific companies, the relationship you have with the organization. But Brian, let's start with you to get a little baseline of what we're talking about here for the next hour or so. What is Dream It, Do It?
So, you know, the Dream It, Do It initiative was started in 2006, and it has really one basic mission, and that is, and Kent, you articulated it pretty well in the beginning. We want to make an awareness or create an awareness with students as they're coming up through school, the advantages not only just in manufacturing, but really we're changing the terminology to industry. Because through all manufacturing, there's a lot of other industries that are touched, but that's really the mission behind Dream It, Do It, is to create that awareness so that way when you're in middle school and you don't know what you want to be when you grow up, because when it started back in 2006, T.R. Raimondo, who you may know, had this vision, and he could see that there wasn't a lot of people coming into the actual manufacturing disciplines. It'd be welding, machining, material handling, that type of thing. So he saw this as a way to really educate businesses, educate the school systems, and really to educate parents and students on what those career opportunities are.
You say all this began in 2006,
2006,
right? And it is
yeah.
a statewide organization.
It is. There's 13 area directors right now, so across the state, and everybody is engaged to really just do exactly what I just said.
So here we are in 2018.
Yeah.
What's the history? I mean, who started this?
TR did. TR Raimondo, Balin Manufacturing.
So what's been happening over the last 12 years?
You know, a lot, actually, because anytime you start something, you have to create the awareness, because what was happening is a lot of people didn't know, a lot of businesses, a lot of parents, a lot of the industry that we were talking about, they didn't know what they didn't know. So what was happening throughout the years is engaging communities, community colleges, businesses in that, hey, there's an upcoming skills gap. While, you know, the four-year colleges are a very good way for many of the students, what TR and that group were finding is that many of the students didn't know. They really didn't know what they wanted to be. They didn't know where to go. A lot of them didn't want to go to a four-year college, so they didn't think there was any other avenue for them.
Yeah, we have talked ad hominem here on this program about the fact that four-year college education is not for everybody.
Right. That's
for
exactly
a number of reasons.
Yeah.
And I think maybe even if you don't know what you want to do, if you do know that you want to find a career path rather than study, kind of in general, and then find out what you want to do.
Yeah.
Maybe Metropolitan Community College, for example, is the way to go to get into what you're talking about.
It is, because what happens is through the community college, like Metro Community College, and now with the advancements that Metro has made, for an example, even in this part of the state, a student can come here, they can be part of an internship program, but come here and get a feel for what those industries really are. And with the way Metro works in conjunction with so many of the area and even some of the statewide businesses, it's just really hard to beat. It really helps people figure out what they want to be.
You said that you want to change the name of manufacturing to industry?
To industry,
yeah.
yeah.
So why don't we do that?
Well, because you know, sometimes when things get started, it's hard to change. Change is always difficult. But what's happening is we see business change. We're really seeing it becomes more of industry, because so many of what we're talking about, you know, a welder may come through Metro Community College and get a certificate in welding. Well, as that welder is employed in a business, there are opportunities for the welders to move up in the organization. Some have leadership desires that we can grow, and so then they become team leads, or they become, even maybe they want to take a different career path to a certified welding instructor, so then they become actually a trainer on site. So there's a lot of different ways to hit the industry. Now, the other part where what's happening is, so many of our students, and that is they're coming up, they move into distribution networks, or they move, frankly, into construction, like with Sarah's group. So you can see that there's a lot of opportunities out there. That's why we're really changing it more to an industry and not manufacturing.
Yeah. I guess I just don't quite get what the nuance is. I mean, or why it's important to distinguish industry from manufacturing. In the end, you're talking about manufacturing product.
We are.
Right?
We are. The difference becomes is because we want to be inclusive. And so many times when we talk about manufacturing, you might think of a Balin Manufacturing or a Logier as just a manufacturing facility. But think about what is not those jobs that are not only within those organizations, but think about the supporting organizations, like the companies like the John Days of the world that provide gloves and safety glasses, and those are industries that support manufacturing that really need to be, you know, noticed, and
Gotcha.
And they need people too. You know, they need the, you know, skilled workers to come into their organizations.
Let me throw this at you.
Sure.
When you hear the word manufacturing, I think that subconsciously maybe the first thing that comes to vision that comes to your
Are you going to say dark and dirty?
Is assembly line.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's much of that.
And maybe there's still a lot of that, but there's things have changed a lot.
Oh, a lot.
In the quote-unquote assembly line.
That is correct. Yeah, you know, it has, because you can go into any manufacturing, and we'd like Logier represented here. Yeah, are there assembly lines? There are, but it's not like the assembly lines of old. What we're asking people to do, all businesses are asking people to do, are to not check their brain at the door, but to bring their brains with them to work, because there's so many other skill sets that are needed. There's process improvements, which are all part of the training. We're looking for those students and those individuals that understand lean manufacturing, or how to make a process better, and to really be a part of the organization and not a number in the organization.
Yeah, and advancement of technology obviously has
huge.
Changed that.
Yeah.
Again, assembly line,
right,
in terms of what skills you need and what you do.
You know, that's a good point. Think of it this way: in the old days, you might, you know, if you Google the pictures of yesterday, you know, people were standing shoulder to shoulder, kind of like how we're sitting here, you know, assembly line, us doing our thing. Today, that whole assembly line is different because there's so much automation that's involved. There's robotics, there's hard automation, and that takes a different skill set. You know, you have to know how to do some programming, or how to manipulate that automation, and your job doesn't become easier, but you become better trained in that profession.
So you touched on this, but who are the players here on the education side and industry side, community side?
Oh, you know, you look at it this way: who are not the players? You know, when you really think about it, just like in this room here, you know, when you look at everything in this room, everything here has been manufactured or made, right? So that tells me then that the school, the community college, Metro Community College, are the players. All the local industries are the players. We see the public schools are now becoming more and more involved in helping these students understand where do they want to go. You know, for years we've taught them the basics, right? You know, reading, writing, etc. But now we have to help them understand what are the career paths. You know, when we were growing up, we probably wanted to be a fireman or a postman. Now today, the opportunities are so, they're just so big. We're taking a look at, you know, our children and grandchildren, they're wanting to become programmers. Well, industry needs programmers, you know, to do our jobs better.
You know, years ago I heard somebody talk about the European model of education, and part of that I think is about identifying earlier on in the educational process what you want to do.
Sure.
In a career. I mean, I think Europe's been doing that for a long time. You know, you end up, if you know, as a middle schooler deciding you want to be a banker, and by the time I mean, in middle school, you're working in a bank maybe, as
right,
you know, that kind of thing. So this is what we're talking about, aren't we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So to that point, you know, through the local chapter here, local Dream It Do It chapter, through the governor's grant about a year and a half, 2 years ago, we put together a proposal for this grant to create the youth initiative, and we have a trailer. And within the trailer, it's we have a 3D printer, we have a robot, we have a welding simulator, and some other things. And what we're doing is taking that to the middle schools, because by the time a student gets into high school, you know, already that career path has already starting to been developed. So now that with this trailer, I think last year in 2018 we reached out to 1,500 students through various, and we're just talking about Omaha Public Schools. Next year we want to reach a little over 2,000. We've been at events at Metro Community College here on site where we want to bring their parents through to let the parents see what industry, manufacturing and industry really is. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah. So let's make sure our viewers understand what we're doing here and why we're doing it. What is, I know that even though this Dream It Do It started in 2006, in some ways you're just kind of just getting started in a direction that you all have agreed you want to go.
Yeah.
But so what are we trying to do with our communication here today in terms of letting the community know about Dream It Do It?
100% awareness. Awareness both all the way from industry to really the parents. We're looking to get the parents involved, to let them know that if your child wants to be a welder or a machinist or a diesel mechanic, that's okay, because those are skill sets, frankly, that we need. We're looking at a true gap. When we say gap, it's a big one coming up. You know, as we have a generation that's getting ready to retire, everybody's struggling to see who's going to fill that gap, who's going to make, frankly, the stuff for us as we grow older.
Now, I want to talk more at length about how much of an issue the need is right now and going forward as time progresses. But also, I think what you just said isn't part of the effort here to make sure people understand that what a welder is, all those things you just mentioned, isn't the old-fashioned.
No.
I mean, because technology has changed these jobs.
Yeah, it has, and that's the most important thing. Technology has changed the job, where we need people that are engaged. We need those students that understand that that's what they want to be. That's why Dream It Do It supports things like Skills USA, STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, math, women in manufacturing. All of those things become part of that Dream It Do It initiatives, because it moves the whole perception or the whole awareness of manufacturing and industry forward.
Okay, good, Brian. Are the rest of you awake? I mean,
we're waiting. I think we're all sitting here waiting to
apologize.
Chime in.
You know,
No, it's all good.
I know at on the end of the line, Sarah, you're thinking they're never going to get to me.
Well, and I'm sure these guys are all surprised that I'm this quiet, right?
Yeah.
Well, we weren't going to say anything out loud.
We've got plenty of time. Let's talk a little bit to Ralph here about the Lozier's affiliation with Dream It Do It.
I'm going to get to that if you don't mind. I'm going to regress a little bit and talk about something that Brian said on jobs, and I 100% agree with what Brian said about the career paths that these students take. And one of the things that people need to understand, especially in manufacturing industries, is within the manufacturing industries like NMC, Balin, Lozier, Turner, there's jobs within them that aren't specific to that sect of degree. In other words, we don't just employ welders. We don't just employ assembly line workers. We have a whole host of support mechanisms there that we hire and look for degree and non-degree people for accounting, human resources, safety, production inventory control, shop floor control, supply stream management, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, when we talk about industries providing those good career opportunities for those students that are coming up, we have a job for everyone. I think everybody in this room can say the same thing.
Absolutely.
We have a job for everyone out there, and we need to kind of shake that stigma of what you said earlier, Kim.
Assembly line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The old
Because when
Lucille
you say
Ball.
the word manufacturing, that's the first thing that comes to your mind. So in changing the word to industry, it allows us to broaden our scope and let everybody know that it's not just the assembly line, although that is an important role, but there's all these other positions that are key to the success of all of our businesses.
Yeah, you need management, you need accounting, you need everything that any business needs.
Right. Well, so. I don't know if you caught what Ralph said, but it's really developing a career, not just a job. We're really developing careers. You know, if you've been to where we see so many of our employees, or we call partners in progress, at a Skills USA event, you know, there are some real what I would call artisan or craftsmen out there. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
That I mean, they can just do some neat stuff. And that's just kind of outside of even business, that they're just engaged. You know, these are the guys that are working on their cars, guys and gals working on their cars, or doing all kinds of cool stuff.
And the comment you made earlier about change is a challenge, whether it's for the better or for not, it's really challenging. And
it is. Yeah.
What we've had to do, at least at Logier, and I can't speak for everybody, but we've had to learn to adapt to the new workforce coming in. Mm-hmm. They're highly intelligent, really creative, and they have other needs out there that they're looking at for more of a work-life balance. So we've had to really look at what are their needs, what are their wants, and how do we match them to give them that career that Brian's talking about. And along the way, we can learn a lot from that new workforce that's coming through the really middle school and high school college systems.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to throw it open to all of us here. We'll do the specific comments.
I threw us off track a little bit.
That's fine, because Ben, I want to hear from you too. I know you've been listening. What do you want to throw in at this point in the conversation, and we'll carry on?
Yeah, you know, I think back to redefining what manufacturing is. I think that's you know, a goal that we're trying to accomplish is how do you shift perception from manufacturing, or maybe even a negative perception of what people think manufacturing is, to this great industry that is full of excellent career opportunities. Skills USA, great example. Skills USA has 130 some different competitions, and all skilled and technical trade type career pathways. Every year I go to that competition, I see new career pathways, new career opportunities that are being created because of a shift in technology.
For example?
A few years ago, drone technology.
Oh yeah.
Who would have thought that drone technology would shift from a toy, taking pictures of the roof of your house, to a competition? And now even NMC, you know, we're a Caterpillar construction company. We sell equipment, but we have drone technology. You know, we have a technology division.
How do you use it?
They can, a construction site, for example.
We use it.
You know,
heavily.
Turner Construction might use a drone to, you know, survey a prospective job site. And
We actually use them regularly to make sure we monitor the progress on site. Our particular project is in Papillion. The data center is very large, 300 acres is out there as far as the land, and so a drone is able to cover the you know, millions of square feet, and with limited manpower. You know, it takes one individual to drive that drone, and the technology behind it and the pictures that we're able to capture on a basis and put out there. We catch things with the drone that, you know, a naked eye necessarily wouldn't catch.
And that's a good example of manufacturing-related careers. You know, drone technology isn't really manufacturing, but it's a related career. Where an NMC company, we might sell this product, this drone product, or conduct a service that Turner needs to perform their construction services.
And it makes it safer. I mean, to have somebody standing on top of a roof taking pictures, or somebody in the welding area or whatever, when you can send the drone in to make those measurements and do all of that work, just utilizing the technology, it safens all of our industries. So it's one of the things that we've seen evolve, especially in the Skills USA, when you see these kids perform some of these amazing tasks and compete in these different competitions, is how safety has taken such a huge role in that, and the technology has really enhanced that area.
Yeah.
That's a great example, one of probably a million, right? I mean, when you think about this whole, like you mentioned, it's not just about, it's about a lot of different things, a lot of different products. And it just occurs to me, you know, I was just thinking, how could you expect to attain any kind or obtain any kind of expertise in any of these areas if you're going to go to a 4-year institution for a bachelor's and you really don't know what you want to do? I mean, this is a way to focus on a job in a couple of years, right?
Yes, that's exactly
in a career.
right, yeah.
I don't
Well,
think
and for most of us, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but for most of us, a lot of our entry-level positions, individuals, and Metro plays a huge role in this. Individuals are able to work and learn at the same time.
Yeah.
So they're earning while they're learning. I don't know about you, but when I went to college, they didn't pay me to sit at a desk and learn. And, you know, all of us have those positions where they're able to obtain those skills at Metro and come and work for us and kind of do that in a joint process, which makes that student a lot more successful. And we're addressing those needs of those current workforce. They want
I was like 50 years ahead of all you. I actually worked at radio stations while I was in college, and so, you know, I understood that once I graduated, that would be, you know, here's what I can do also.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, you make a great point. So internships during the process. Yeah.
It really enhances that earn while you learn.
Well, but also the most important part of an internship, I think all of us can attest to, is the simple fact that if we have an intern, whether it be in welding or you talked about production control or any of those, so while they're learning at a Metro Community College level, you know, through all the classes, they're touching base with, you know, all their peers in the class or the instructor. They're getting real time. They're taking that learning, they're taking it back to the company and saying, hey, here's what I'm learning. And what's neat about that is you can actually develop some good best practices off of that. So it's pretty cool.
Probably changes the environment in the classroom too.
Absolutely. Well, we recognize our interns and students that come on, or even our workers that are actually taking some of those classes and come back. They'll create those innovation practices. And I know we all have those different awards in our companies and those kind of things for when the employee comes to you and says, look, this is a more efficient and effective way to do this process, and we'd like to see it implemented. And I know we at Turner take that very close to heart, and I know our competitors do as well.
Internships for NMC, it's actually a required component of our technician development program. So that's kind of how we got put in touch with Dream It Do It several years ago. Was, you know, for 20 years we've been doing diesel technology internships. You know, there's been a shortage for a long time. The skills gap that Brian mentioned has been growing wider and wider and wider, and now there's more jobs open than there are people to fill it. So how do you fill those roles? Well, you create awareness. How do you create awareness? Well, you get people into the industry. You get the students into your environment. You give them some hands-on experience. You get the parents involved. So we actually require it. We'll make our students conduct a job shadow, a 4 to 8 hour job shadow before they can even apply for an internship position. And then the internship is 12 weeks, and we either scare them away or convince them to take the next step to go to a 2-year to community college to keep learning and enhancing. So.
Yeah.
I want to expand a little bit on another benefit. You talked about how you enhance the classroom and some of the aspects of that with internships. One of the things we've noticed at Lozier, and I think you can all attest to the same thing, is, and I was surprised a little bit seeing it occur, is the excitement that is developed by that young student in the work setting. It's amazing to me to hear from our coworkers, et cetera, how much they enjoyed Susan or John working as an intern. It gets them re-energized. So we see an actual re-energization, if that's a word, new excitement, an excitement in the workforce by others getting involved. So it helps re-energize them. And that's been a significant benefit, because we'll use those same people to tap into when we go out and speak to schools or bring schools into Lozier, and we'll tap into those resources again because it helps re-energize that employee. So it's really kind of a synergy that occurs with not only interns that you have, shadowing experience that you've talked about, we're just getting into that now as well. and then we bring classes in. It helps re-energize the workforce.
But it kind of goes back to that old model where you were standing over your car and your grandfather was teaching you what you needed to do and how to change that. Well, my grandfather's teaching me how to change my oil and those kind of things. We're doing that now in our businesses where we're bringing those students in and we're taking those very, skilled workers and having them mentor them. And it creates an energy in both, which is fantastic.
It's a win-win-win.
It is.
Win. The pipeline, the funnel, filling the funnel. So I'm just curious, in general, in manufacturing or industry, to what degree has Dream It, Do It and its mission created a dearth in the pipeline? I mean, are your companies like really kind of critically needing people right now that you don't have, and what's going on with all that?
Well, I think we've all come to that conclusion that yes, we do have an immediate need, but we also are forecasting into the future to really address and project as we go 5, even 10 years out in all of our industries because they're ever changing. I mean, Brian and Ralph made a great point as far as the technology and the enhancements that we've seen in all of our industries. And so bringing those younger generations, that's why we start to address those kids in 5th grade. Like you said, the European model has been doing it for years, and it's finally time that we've all kind of bought into at least exposing those kids, because like you said, they only know what they know. Right. And so, we have them play with Legos to see whether or not they want to go into construction. You have them play with welders to see if they want to go into manufacturing. I mean, it's just a way to really funnel into the industry in utilizing different tactics.
Yeah. And I want to make a point here, Kent. It's, we talk about industry and industry needing these people and solving these problems, but industry alone is not the solution. So an entity like Dream It, Do It is one of the few organizations that bring together all the key stakeholders. Industry is obviously a key component. We need the people, but without some sort of a nonprofit entity or an education, both K through 12 and post-secondary, like a OPS school district with a metropolitan community college, that partnership is very key. So bringing all those people into one room and adding in state level components as well, like the Department of Labor, all of those key stakeholders together making, designing strategy and executing strategy, like the Developing Youth Talent Initiative. That trailer a few years ago was not just Balin saying we need more welders. It was a collaboration of Metro and several school districts and industry, and then executing that by getting it into the school districts, getting in front of parents, getting it, even Governor Pete Ricketts got some time in the welding station.
He
so
got a little love there. So.
Yeah. Was he any good at it?
He didn't do bad. If he's listening, he did great.
He could submit an application to one of our locations.
We would bring him in an internship program. So
pass that test.
So when we talk about the pipeline, Sarah and Ben and just make some great points, because what we're doing before, when many of us were coming up through we had to go hunt for the job so many times. Today, what we're seeing is, and I love the term stakeholder that you're using, because we all are, we're friendly competitors. And so we needed the Dream It, Do It type organization to kind of bring us all together. We're learning from each other best practices, but also then we're tying, for the first time in a long time, not just the metro community colleges of the world, but also the Omaha public schools. And we're working literally hand in glove with those organizations to develop that big one-word awareness of, and they are engaged. The schools, I think we could say today, are as engaged as I've ever seen them. Omaha Public Schools has been very, very proactive in working with us. So that's how are we going to measure that? Well, we won't know probably for 5 or 10 years. Right. And that's the other thing we're working at. We talked a little bit about some metrics. So through the school, we're trying to measure, and Metro is working, how do we measure those students that come from a 5th grade level all the way out? Do they become diesel techs, or do they work for Turner Construction or any one of us? And how can we measure that? I think it's going to be tough, but I think what we'll be able to do though is see that as the unemployment numbers. I think that'll be the real tell.
Yeah, and it's an overall economy of Nebraska. It's not just do we have more welders? It's we all want each other to succeed.
Yes.
I'd love more welders for the Logier and Valmont and more construction workers for Turner, you know, more construction workers, they'll buy more machines from Caterpillar. So collaborative effort, and I think it's kind of you have to take an altruistic approach to how to address this skills gap. You know, it's not just an NMC thing, I need diesel technicians, it's we all need people, so how do we get together and do that? And I think Dream It Do It's that place where you can all come together and
but Dream It Do It can't do anything about lack of population. I mean, that's part of the equation here.
That is.
You know, you not only need the talent and education, you know, educated talent, but you need people. You know, and I know that unemployment numbers in Nebraska are low,
very low.
So you're looking for people.
We are, but I think what we've been able to do through the utilization with like Department of Labor is identify those key areas in the community. I mean, we have 6 zip codes that we can address on a regular basis where the unemployment rate isn't quite where we'd like it to be. And so being able to go into those neighborhoods and address
here's what's available.
Here's some other options for you. And one thing that I think we all make a good point about is that you said it's a friendly competition. I guess Dream It Do It brings us together with one mission, and to say that we're excited about you entering the industry. Whoever you go with and following you, that you might go to Logier and you might go to NMC, but that you're still within our industry. And I think that's what we're all excited about.
And you know what it does also? That's a great point, because what it does also, though, you talked about, you know, Nebraska has just a few people, right? Well, for a period of time, the talk was always the brain drain. People would either get an education here and then they'd go somewhere else.
Yep.
You know, success for us is keeping those folks from leaving. And I think we're starting to see that because of the careers that we're talking about, not just jobs. We're talking about careers where people can raise families and be a part of towns and wherever they want to live. That's why Dream It Do It is across the state, trying to do the very same thing. And you know, because you have some people that they just love to live in rural Nebraska, and that's great, because we need folks out there. There are folks that want to live in more of an urban environment, you know, and that's good because we can fill that need too. And then, not to mention, as our companies are growing and prospering, we're able to attract. Now, you know, this is a lot of the feeder things that happen, but like the data center that Turner is helping, you know, that will attract and bring in more people to run that data center. So it all works together. It's one of those symbiotic relationships.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, we not only need to keep our talent, we need to recruit it.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Absolutely.
So back a little bit to the funnel, and I just think it's interesting to talk about. One of the realities here is you've got folks retiring, right?
Yeah.
And so that's part of the reason for the need. Right,
yeah,
correct?
It is. I mean, we all have in our industries, and we all have different statistics based on the different job projections, but we do have a significant number that will be retiring within the next 5 years. The other piece is we have people that won't retire, we won't let retire, right, Brian?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Because we need that knowledge and that wisdom in our specific areas. And so for all of our industries, the aging population that we have within our industry can, you know, we want to make sure that people are able to do what they want to do, but we also want to address some of the safety issues and some of those things that can come to our industries because we're not bringing in some of that new talent that we need.
Well, how critical is all that, though? I mean, because you talked about the metrics and trying to measure how effective Dream It Do It is, but you're talking about young people now that aren't ready to go into the workforce. Obviously, you're trying to entice them to take a look.
Yeah.
How close to, I mean, where are you in terms of being able to fill jobs right now with qualified people?
It's a daily challenge.
It is.
I think for everybody. I know it is for us. It is a daily challenge. And one of the things we've had to do is become more creative, think differently, think outside the box, especially when you look at retaining people, because as you stated earlier, it's not just recruiting, it's keeping. Because if you can retain your employees and you can train them and have them successful, then you're obviously hire less. Yeah. So that's what we're actually seeing now in our business is we've rethought how we want to work and support and train our employees. We do it in such a manner that we're seeing a measurable improvement of less turnover, thus less hiring is occurring. As far as Dream It Do It, it's going to take a little more because you're right, reaching down at 7th, 8th, 9th grade level on up. So, but the good news is Dream It Do It doesn't look at it just a rifle shot.
Yeah.
It's not a one and done fix.
Right.
We see this as going to be a long-term challenge for industries and the state of Nebraska. So what John Fond is trying to do with our OMA organization is to start the grassroots level, reach out to the schools, the students, the parents, and industries, get them work together collaboratively, and train that workforce as it goes up. And we'll see it come out the end of the funnel, and hopefully with individuals that want to go into the industry more, and also have be higher skill levels.
But where are we in that process in terms of what age group those people are that we're reaching out to? Are they even close to being in?
Oh, many, because what we're seeing is through the trailer and through, we should probably just take a moment, to your point, talk about the ambassador program. Because through Dream It Do It, there's an ambassador program, and every year those industries that are involved in Dream It Do It, they have the opportunity. I think this year there was 14 ambassadors from a variety of different industries throughout the state. And what these are young adults that are engaged in a career for any one of it, like we've had one. And they are part of that, helping develop that pipeline, and then getting, they go into schools, they've gone in, I think, to even some of our businesses, they're at all kinds of career events. And what they do, they're out there talking about, hey, this is my career, I was part of Dream It Do It, and this is why, etc. I think we're seeing some people change what they want to be when they grow up or when they decide what they want to do for a career. I don't know what you guys are
Well,
thinking.
and it also offers that adaptive change for individuals that are
Yeah.
in that 21 to 36 range, where
Yes,
they
that's perfect.
maybe they've gone to school and they did that for a year and they're like, this is not what I want to do. Or they've taken a couple classes at Metro and been inspired to change their career path. And so I think Dream It Do It also addresses that whole population as well. I mean, if you think of the number of times that some of these young individuals change their careers, I mean, they're saying every 3 years people change jobs. And that's the norm now, where it used to be you got in and you stayed and you retired with the same company. And so Dream It Do It has been addressing that as well, as being able to reach out to that population and say, this is another opportunity for you to bring that skill set and that talent into this industry as well.
I imagine there's kind of a backwards Dream It Do It too. Current employees coming back
Yeah.
to school.
That's a great point.
I mean, some people probably see jobs and tasks within companies that they're not qualified to do, right? So they need to go back to Metropolitan Community College and learn how to do it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Take those couple of classes that enhance their skill level and be able to go out for that promotion or take those leadership roles and enhance their career path. Because like Ralph said, we aren't looking for that quick, easy position. We're looking, Dream It, Do It is really looking at that career pathway for the long term, so that an individual is able to grow within our industry. And
Ben,
find
you're
that.
about to, I'm sorry. I didn't mean
You're
to
okay.
Sorry, you were about to
Yeah,
say
you know,
something.
we've definitely seen an increase in non-traditional students, especially with our partnership with Metro Community College. You know, you see people that, I hear it all the time. I went to a 4-year college. I spent $70,000. I came out with my history major, liberal arts major, and no specialization. Couldn't find a job. Graduated during the recession. You know.
What do I do with my philosophy degree?
What do I do with it? And you see some of these individuals going back to like a Metro Community College and earning a trade, and the return on investment is almost immediate. You know, I think another misperception is, you know, not only is the manufacturing dirty, and you know, not it's for people that just aren't good enough to go to 4-year school.
Yeah.
I think that's very incorrect, because some of the people that are finding successful careers in this industry are making 6 figures.
Well, it gets back to STEM too, doesn't it?
It
I mean,
does.
that's not easy stuff necessarily.
Right.
No.
You know.
And what you'll see is quite often the individual go out and get that 2-year degree, that skill, that true trade, and they'll build upon it. So they'll come in and learn that skilled trade for 3 or 4 or 5 years. Then they'll take, maybe at this business they work at, the advantage of going back to school, then maybe going for that professional degree if they choose to.
Right.
Don't have to, like you said. They
Right.
can make a very, very good career and a very good standard of living in Omaha, Nebraska, with a 2-year degree from Metro or another community college.
A lot of ways to skin a cat, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and the bottom line is we need to let people know that these are attractive careers
Right.
that may not historically been viewed that way.
Yeah, and that's where Dream It Do It really does, because, you know, just like today, you've brought together a group of very different industries, really, but we all work together. And we have always been working together, but the Dream It Do It group just brings it all together, and then we can see what needs each other has, and we can actually help each other, you know,
Yeah.
build on each other.
And with having you know, education and state, you know,
that's key.
stakeholders involved, you know, we are seeing change. You know, you mentioned the pipeline, and you know, are there indicators that say that we're making progress? And it's hard to measure. To Brian's point, you know, unemployment is a piece of that. Low unemployment also says we have a great economy, which is
right.
You know, it's kind of multiplied when we have great economy and a skills gap at the same time. But you know, we are seeing education making changes as well. You know, we're seeing like career academy type concepts going into schools, STEM type academies where by the time you graduate as a senior, you've earned some sort of a specialization or a career pathway tracked. And you understand, yeah, you know, I want to be an engineer or I want to be a diesel technician, and we're seeing schools grasp onto that concept and seeing a lot more of these evolve in a lot of districts.
I think overall what we're able to all agree to is that Dream It, Do It has not only brought all of us together, but it has solidified the mission that we all have had individually, because we all do individual activities and we all do all of these different things.
Is there an economy in that too?
There is,
right?
but it's able to bring us all together, and as all together we're a lot more successful in our options, because we're not, it's just not one little drop in the ocean. We're able to fill it.
You can combine maybe individual efforts into and create
Absolutely.
some economy of scale. I want to do two things before our time runs out. One, give you an opportunity to talk about whatever you want to talk about, because I driving the car here, and I don't want to dominate where you want to go with this conversation.
I'd like to speak up because I know each one of us here through our businesses do this. And what I would like to do is challenge some of the industries out there to step up. When I say step up, each one of us provide what we call sponsorship and scholarships to students that come in to work for us or have the opportunity to work for us. For example, and I know Ben can talk more about this as well, but Logier will sponsor anywhere from 4 to 6 students. They would be graduating seniors from Omaha school system. We will put them through 2-year schooling at Metropolitan Community College at no cost to them. We'll pay them, earn while you learn, so they can learn their skill and trade while at Logier, and when they're done, we'll guarantee them a very high-paying job for the high skill they just learned. And I know you do the same thing at NMC, and we all do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do.
I would like to challenge all the industries out there to step up and provide those opportunities for those students of tomorrow.
And I was thinking on the way here today, you know, Logier has a great sponsorship program. NMC, you know,
You've been doing it for a lot longer than we have. We've been doing it for 6 years, and you've been doing it for how long?
for about 22 years now.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And you have to attribute that to leadership buy-in. So, you know, I'd challenge leaders of organizations. You know, it's not an immediate return on investment. You know, you don't just participate and then next year you can say, I got 10 hires. It's 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, are you making change in the industry? And I think that's organizational responsibility. Right. But leaders out there, you know, invest into these types of programs. You know, if we want to solve the skills gap, we have to invest into our future. Right. We have to invest into our middle school and high school students. And then when they're on our property, we have to continue to invest. Like Ralph said earlier, learning and development is extremely important to making sure that we can keep enhancing their skills and retain them in our organizations and in Nebraska as well.
You know, oh, sir, go ahead, Sarah.
And Turner is just like you guys. I mean, we do a lot. We have a very robust internship program and different programs that we do. But one thing that I think our admins and our upper leadership have really bought into the fact that, yes, there is an upcoming skills gap in that piece, but they're willing to give back. I mean, some of our positions, our workforce development, management, project manager positions didn't exist 5 years ago. And now each of us have taken that point where we've dedicated staff and the resources behind it to really put back into the economy and, you know, in these students that we, you know, that we're looking to grow.
You know, Ralph brings up a good point, though, Kent, because in listening to, you know, the programs we all have, and, you know, you challenge really the rest of industry. There are so many great companies within Nebraska that have great programs, but it becomes back to the awareness. And if they would do what you just challenged them to do, step up and say, hey, let's be part of the Dream It, Do It organization. And then as we're engaging parents and students, then the parents would be aware of, hey, you know, my son or daughter has an affinity for taking my car apart every day. Let's put them in the NFC program or whatever that might be. But unless they're aware, they only see one path. They see the path of, okay, I just need you to go to college and then figure out, honey, whatever you want to do. And until these, because I think these are hidden gems. These internship or apprenticeship programs, they're hidden gems, and there's a lot of companies that have them.
So where at the present time can someone who's been, watching and thinking, I'd like to check that out, I mean, what's the process at this point?
Well, besides each of us having our own sites and being able to go directly to our own sites and check out what we offer as far as our internship programs, the state of Nebraska actually has a site that interns can go on to and look at what the internship programs that are available within this state. So there's twofold. I mean, businesses need to put their internships on that state board, but most of us have them listed. But students can check that out as well.
And then
But
Dream It, Do It
Yeah,
to
we're
take
working.
that
Yeah,
role.
Dream It Do It has its own website, and you can Google Dream It Do It. But then also what's happening is the MCC and Dream It Do It are working together to create a central clearinghouse website to where we should be able to all go, or somebody, a parent or a student, can go and say, okay, look what's happening, whether it be through events or potentially internships or maybe even job openings or links to those companies that have job openings. So
Facebook site too, I know.
Oh, probably,
Yep,
yeah,
yep,
Facebook, yeah. Yeah.
There is, believe me, I checked it out. So anyway, you all, I wanted to give you opportunities to address whatever you wanted to do. The other thing I wanted to do is ask each one of you maybe to describe what happens, what you do in your companies that might, illustrate or whet somebody's appetite for working in your company. I mean, what do you do? What can people do working for you?
Lozier in Omaha employs about 1,100 employees. As I mentioned earlier, we have a job for everyone. We are the largest sheet metal retail industry display manufacturer company in the United States. So if you go to a store, such as a Walmart, Target, Walgreens, O'Reilly's, whoever, and you reach something off their shelf and buy that product, we make the shelves that provide you that and hold that product for you. So you can start in entry level, come into, as you said earlier, a basic assembly line position and make definitely a standard of living in Omaha, Nebraska with what we pay. And you have a tremendous amount of career opportunities at Lozier.
What's that?
Career opportunities at Lozier are boundless. We also will give you tuition reimbursement to go back to school, whether it's 2-year school or 4-year school, to enhance your education, because we want to attract and retain employees that are educated, talented, because that's what we want. We all want talented people. That's what we're all looking for, and try to find that match. But again, they can go out and find any career within Lozier, accounting, human resources, safety, production and control, engineering, if I don't want to repeat myself, operations control, et cetera. So it's not just strictly on the floor for assembly line or welding or electromechanical. Our greatest need right now is electromechanical. We cannot find enough electromechanical
what do you
technicians.
do in those positions?
It's a very, very highly skilled position because this individual has to understand pneumatics, hydraulics, electrical, powertrain systems. They'll take apart our equipment and rebuild it and put it back together. And that's a very, very challenging position, but again, a very well-paying position, which we cannot find enough of.
Can you get there from out of community college?
Absolutely. It's part of our sponsorship program. We put them in the 2-year program through Metro, and they learn and earn that degree, and then come to work for us. And we have, again, a very well-paying position for them. Cool. As well as internally at Lozier, people that have been there for a while can work through internal pre-apprentice programs with Lozier. That's probably our number one need right now at Lozier is electrical mechanical positions. We always need talent, but that's probably one of our main focuses we have. That skill set just is not out there. And they can leave Lozier or leave Baylor and go anywhere in the country and find the job tomorrow. They're in that much demand.
Well, then tell folks about NMC then. What do you do there?
And we have similar issues that we have to deal with more in regards to diesel technology, diesel technicians instead of electromechanical technicians. But similar, it's a very highly technical skill. A 2-year degree in diesel technology is what most of these individuals have. And at NMC, we're best known as the Caterpillar dealership. So we're the authorized dealer for Caterpillar construction equipment in the state of Nebraska. But we also get into other capital equipment industries as well to serve our customers.
Capital equipment meaning?
Various types of equipment that our customers need. For example, the railroad. We actually manufacture Caterpillar equipment that performs maintenance of way functions on the railroad. So Burlington Northern, for example, has millions of miles of track across the nation. Somebody has to repair that track, so we design the equipment that can actually repair railroad track. So we serve the railway industry. Our Caterpillar division serves, companies like Turner, who are building things. So our technicians have to be able to troubleshoot hydraulic systems, engine troubleshooting, any component related to a $1 million piece of construction equipment. They have to be able to jump in and solve those problems. So very highly technical, kind of similar to Ralph's need as well with electromechanical. So we've designed a sponsorship program. Some intelligent guys way back in the day, back in the 90s, said, why spend money on radio and advertising and when you can just put somebody in college, take that money and put somebody in college. So that's what we've been doing for the last 20 plus years.
I can tell you why you spend money on radio. You want to do another program. It takes all the above, see. No, how many employees?
So about 650 employees across the Midwest in all of our various divisions, about 200 or so here in Omaha.
Sarah, tell us about what you guys do.
So Turner's been around since 1902.
Really?
Really. We are the largest general contractor in the country.
Largest general contractor in the country?
Largest general contractor in the country, that's the look I get every time I say that in Omaha, Nebraska.
Well, see, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just, in doing this program over the years, there are so many hidden miracles or just great stories that people don't know about. In this community and in the state.
Exactly. Well, in where we're located, I mean, we kind of touch several different areas. We have a Springfield address. We're in Papillion. We have 1,600 people on site on average on any given day. Turner employees, we're topping out, I think, at about 100 that are on site every single day. But company-wide, we have almost, the last report we got, we're just over 9,000 employees. Wow. So, we bring a lot to the table.
Do you say 9,000?
9,000 across the country and around the world. I mean, we're fourth largest general contractor in the world as well. So big in data center builds, but our number one is education and medical. So we are.
What do you mean by that? What does that mean?
So, like you said, construction is just like all of the other industries.
Oh, okay. Schools.
We build in schools.
Yeah.
Yep. Higher education, hospitals, airports, those kind of things. We come in and do that. We do a lot of the smaller projects too, but we just happen to be here in Nebraska for the data center. So, but we bring a lot to the table, and that's one of the things that we're excited while we're here. I mean, I've been with Dream It Do It for quite a while in my past life. I was in education, so but being with Turner and the time frame that they've been here in a little over 2 years, the impact that they've been able to make on the local community and economy and the growth that we're able to see within the trade industry. You put the challenge out there. We're new to this area, and we have completely bought in and said this is an area that we feel needs to be addressed. And we've partnered with Metro Community College and partnered with Dream It Do It to make sure that we not only grow Turner and Turner employees, but that we help grow all of our partners. We don't survive without everybody at this table. We need all of these other business partners. And so, but Turner in and of itself has a very robust internship program. In the last 6 months, just on our site alone, we've been able to bring out over 250 students to tour the site and see what different opportunities are out there. We have
what are they? What are they, the opportunities?
Well, we have 62 different trade partners on site. So it could be anything from welding to diesel mechanics, because somebody's got to fix and drive all that heavy equipment that's out there, to masonry, to electrical, to plumbing, to tin knockers. I mean, there isn't an area that we don't all touch. One of the areas that we really see a lot is the technology. I mean, somebody drives those drones out on our project, and we build all of our buildings virtually before we build them in steel. I mean, it's just the technique that a lot of the industry is getting into that we've been doing for years. And so the impact that we all are able to make on the community, I think, is fantastic, and Dream It Do It brings us all to the table to do that. So, but Turner as a whole, we're very excited that you're letting us come to the table.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great that they have them all here, right? As far as
Absolutely.
Dream and Do It.
And I think we can all say that we've cross-sold career opportunities to all of our organizations. You know, I don't have a ton of openings for welders or equipment operators, but other companies do. So being able to cross-sell skilled trade positions to other companies is very important. And I think we see a lot of each other.
We do.
Through this
We do.
organization.
Well, we hate to tell people or tell students, and I think the education commitments that we've been able to make and say, nope, there's not an opportunity for you at my place of business. And what we're able to do now in our partnerships with Dream It, Do It is say there's not an opportunity today here in this one spot, but I'm going to give you the names of all of my friends, and this is who you can connect with. And all of our partners in the industry to make sure that everybody's successful. Because like you said earlier, it's a win-win-win situation.
Recapping them, we're going to do a number of shows on Dream It, Do It. This is our first one. Where are we today and where are we going?
Oh, we've made great strides today. I mean, we are just creating the future. I have to tell you, Ken, and where we're going, I see this in 2, 3, 5 years. I think we're going to have a real impact on the students that we're starting to touch the last couple of years. I think we're going to start seeing some great things happen within companies as Ralph put it perfect. He said, hey, we're changing, we're adapting to that workforce. We're adapting to the people, the youth that are coming up. I think we're going to see some cool stuff. You know, and then in partnership with Metro. Look what Metro's done with the Kayet Center, and
Unbelievable.
it's just been crazy, right?
It's been great.
And we have the new advanced manufacturing expansion.
And the back,
and
yeah,
building
that's a
up.
great one.
Of course,
Yeah.
it's always close to ours.
Yeah,
but
it is. Yeah.
I don't think they're changing the industry, but
Yeah.
it's advanced manufacturing. One of the things I want to point out, and I'm going to give credit to John Fonda, was you touched base on it a little bit ago. My position, I work at Leisure, it was created about a year and a half ago. It didn't exist before.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have that need to go out there and find that skill and talents that we've got to go out and find now. And so
We better
back
keep
at-
this going then, because you aren't ready to retire.
No, I'm not. Not by a long ways. But I attended a Dream It, Do It meeting back in October of, what would that be, about 2017, and we had a whole 12 people attend it through the industry, the people sitting around this table, and John Fonda. The most recent meeting I went to, we had 55 people there.
Yeah, wonderful.
And that's just people that are showing up because everyone wants to be, as you said, around that table.
Exactly.
That's industry, that's education, that's the whole gamut. It's just really taking some wings now to take flight. So
Yeah.
it's moving the right
Got
direction.
about 1 minute left.
Well, I think like Brian says, this is the organization that really hammers in the inclusiveness, and that's why we've addressed it as industry, is because we realize that we need everybody at the table to be successful.
You get the last word.
Yeah, I think next year, you mentioned numbers and how are we impacting. I think next year we'll be able to come to the table and say,
good point.
we've reached several thousand students
Right.
in the Omaha Metro or across Nebraska. I know we're doing it. We're doing the touch points. Us here at the table have reached thousands of people this year alone, but now I think next year we'll be able to quantify that.
Very good. Brian, Ralph, Ben, Sarah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate
Do
the
It,
opportunity.
Dream It, Do It.
Yeah.
And thank you for being with us for MCCTV. Our goal is to better acquaint you with the mission, leadership, and reach of the college. I'm Kent Pavelka for Metropolitan Community College.